Ahoy, this is Zdenka. You've seen this location before. I took you here before. And I chose this place again because simply it is very windy. I'm surrounded by trees, so I'm kind of blocked off, which really helps. We've talked about CPL filters and ND filters, what are the differences. In the past video we talked about CPL filter in great detail, but we haven't talked about ND filter yet. And today is all about that. What is ND filter, what it can do for you, and mainly how do we use it to improve your photography and video. And for the new faces, my name is Zdenka. I work as a photographer for many years. If you enjoy tech reviews, tutorials and creative camera challenges, you might consider hitting the subscribe button. What is this exactly? This is a neutral density or ND filter. This one is specifically called a variable ND filter. By turning the front part of a filter, I can reduce the amount of light coming to the camera. Why would I want to reduce the light when everyone keeps telling me that I need lots of light for photography and video? You will not use ND filter all the time, but there are two situations where it will make a huge difference when you are shooting outdoors. Number one is controlling your aperture or shallow depth of field on a very bright sunny day. Number two is slowing down your shutter speed. And let's start with the first one, and that is the aperture. ND filter allows you to take photos and videos with very wide aperture lenses on a very bright sunny day without overexposing. That means you will get very shallow depth of field. The same applies to video. I want to record myself, but I have to keep aperture high. So my settings are 24 frames per second, shutter speed is 1/50th, but the aperture is 8. That means that I'm not getting that beautiful cinematic blurred background look. When I turn the aperture down all the way to 3.5, look what I get without the ND filter. I am terribly overexposed. Now, let me snap on the ND filter and reduce the light by turning it. Done. Now my settings are 24 frames per second, 1/50th shutter speed, and 3.5 aperture, which is the lowest one I can get on this kit lens, 15 to 45 millimeters. Let's look at the situation number two, and that is slowing down your shutter speed. When you are going to slow down your shutter speed, you have to have your camera on a tripod. Simply you cannot handheld that because you will have your photos blurry. So whatever is in your frame static will end up static in the photos. Whatever in your frame will be moving, such as cars, people, water, will be nice and blurry. In photography, you need it when you're trying to take photos of landscapes, of lakes like this, and you want that water to be like a glass. Or if you're taking photos of rivers on waterfalls and the water is supposed to be very nice and blurry, soft. Or in a city, if you're trying to take photos of a traffic, you want to see those lights moving, or people kind of blurred, or sky, the clouds blurred, or even a smoke. I use variable ND filter when I want to achieve just that, and sometimes I even snap on CPL filter to get even better result. Let's go ahead and cover up some basics. I'm not a professional landscape photographer, so let me show you what most of us would do. So what I do is this. I frame the shot and I put on the ND filter, but I still have it turned to the minimum. ISO I put to 100 since it is very bright and sunny today. Aperture, because I'm shooting landscape, I'm going to go all the way up to 14, maybe 15. And then I turn the ND filter as dark as I possibly can. If I turn it all the way up and I get that crosshatch pattern, I just turn it back a little bit until I see it properly. And then I try to slow down the shutter speed as much as I can, and I see the preview on the screen, which shows really nicely the final image, how it's gonna look like. Once I am ready to take the shot, I have it set on timer 2 seconds, because if I would not have the timer, I would probably shook the camera. So I press the button where is a 2-second timer and I take the shot. If you need to calculate your ND filter for specific cameras, then there is a free app on the phone called ND Calculator. It's free and it's very simple to use. Or if you are a math lover, then you can calculate your shutter speed based on this math equation. To explain the equation, my ND filter is 8.6 stops. Every single stop will halve the amount of light coming to the camera. And every time you halve the light, you have to double your shutter speed. So what that means that if I'm using 1 second shutter speed and I add 1 stop of ND filter, I have to set the shutter speed to 2 seconds. If I add another stop, so it's now 2 stops ND filter, I have to set, instead of 2 seconds shutter speed, to 4 second shutter speeds. If I add another stop, so now I have 3 stops of ND filter, instead of 4 second shutter speed, now I have to set to 8 seconds shutter speed. Does it make sense, or are you all confused? If you're a beginner, don't worry. If you have M50, it's very simple. Just snap on the ND filter, turn it all the way up and slow down the shutter speed until you see the final image on a display. It is so easy. Let's move on to video. Let me say one word: time lapses. Actually, is it a compound word? Is it 2 words or just one? I never know, because I see it written both ways and I get so confused. Let me know in the comment section below which one is actually right. Time lapses are popular these days. They are huge. If you don't use ND filter, then you will end up with time lapse like this. If you add ND filter and slow down your shutter speed, then you will get that sweet blur effect in it. When it comes to buying ND filter, which one do you get when there are so many different kinds out there? Serious landscape photographers usually buy GND filters, which are graduated neutral density filters. They transition from light to dark, and usually the rectangular shapes are more popular. For extremely wide angle lenses, you want to buy CND, which is central neutral density filter. What it is darkened in the center and light at the edges. I prefer, and is recommended for beginners, to get the VND, which is variable neutral density filter, because simply you can turn it up all the way, you can turn it down. It's great for photos and a video. And the only disadvantage it has, that if you turn it all the way up, you will end up with that crosshatch pattern, but you will get rid of it if you back up a little bit. So you will ease up, you will turn it down just a tiny bit. Most landscape photographers recommend to get 6 stops ND filter and also CPL filter, which you snap on, so it will give you additional 2 stops, and it does a lot of different effects. I actually created a very detailed video about CPL filters. The link is here or also in the video description below, so feel free to check that out. Also, in a video description below, you will find links to all ND filters. Which ND filter do you need? If you look at the front of the lens, you can look at the bottom, you will see the number. That's usually the size of the ND filter you need. To save you money, in case you're using different sizes of lenses, you can get what's called step-up rings. I also included them there as well. Well, I'm just going to enjoy the view here a little bit some more and take some more photos and listen to some frogs. I actually don't like frogs too much, not in my shoes. Well, there is a story. When I used to be home in Czech Republic and I used to run every single day, I forgot one time my running shoes outside overnight, and obviously in the morning as I'm sitting on a porch, I'm trying to put my running shoes on to go for a run. As I'm putting my right shoe on, I touched something in the shoe with my toe. Yep, there she was. Took a look inside of the shoe and she was looking at me. You bet that the shoe was flying pretty far. My dad was laughing like crazy. Well, hit the thumbs up button if you like today's video, subscribe to all future videos. If you have any questions or comments, or simply want to say hello, you can do so in a video comment section below. You know I read them all and I always respond, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao, ahoy.